Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and we have a special guest again today. We have Gangsta KT here for another video on the Boilon channel. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Boilon, thanks for having me again, man. Had a blast on here with you last time talking about some gear tiers and ready to have another great discussion today. So appreciate it.
In some way, it's actually almost like an extension a little bit about what we were talking about, but we're here to talk about, I guess, power. We're here to talk about Super Scroll, but we're here to talk about power creep and how this might be impacting people at the top specifically. And, I don't have a lot of experience with that myself because I've kind of taken a step back from that more recently. And it's been great for my sanity, let me tell you that, because it seems like for those of you who are kind of competing up at the top, maybe things are getting a bit rough. And we're going to be talking about a specific Reddit post that kind of got to my attention, and some people wanted me to cover this, and I want to kind of discuss this. I felt it was better to have two than just myself kind of talking into the void. So if you're ready to go, everybody,
Yep.
let's boil this down. Okay, it was this Reddit post, and I want to credit Raceland43084 for making this post. May end up stealing this as my title for my YouTube video. It's a very great title. The Kraken versus Non-Kraken power gap is out of control. So, Spender, we're going to go through this together a little bit. We're going to talk about it, because there's a bit of length here, but I want to talk about it as we go along. So, spenders have always had an advantage over non-spenders. True. And spenders should have an advantage. True. They are the reason the game exists. Also true. However, the amount of power imbalance Scopely has created in Kraken's favors recently seems completely absurd. So, I know that they talk about Super Scroll further down, and specifically also level 95 and Gear 18, I believe, comes up as well. And, and we both know from our conversation from the last video that G18 is, a huge power jump.
Huge, yep.
Especially the unique piece as well, which we talked about, 17.5. And the amount of just raw stats that you get both from 90 to 95 and G18 on top of that. So, that is huge. And it probably, I would argue probably makes the biggest difference. If you have, obviously, a identical mirror team that's G18 and a team that's not, I would hope that the G18 or think that the G18 team will probably win, especially if it's a mirror match.
I would agree.
So the catalyst for this paradigm shift seems to have occurred around the time Super Troopers. Now I know that they're pretty up there alliance. Dorky Dad might still be a part of that. I thought that he was affiliated with Super Troopers. It's a big cluster up there at the top. I'm not a Kraken, so honestly, I don't know the names of every single Kraken cluster and all of that stuff. I know the names off the top of my head, like, Legion and Pants of Hulk and that stuff, but that's the extent of my knowledge. So they punched way up and beat some of the, I guess, other largest Kraken alliances. So I guess Super Troopers not as Kraken-y as some of the other ones, is what they're suggesting. And many of the best players in the game accomplished huge upsets in Crucible against some of the biggest spenders in the game. Okay, so it almost sounds like that in this paragraph, it's almost sounding like the Krakens are losing. The largest Krakens are losing, and now they're mad, or that's this paragraph is a bit weird. Instead of celebrating, yeah, that's what it sounded like. Instead of celebrating that the game was actually correctly designed and balanced, so that spending gave huge advantages, but skill still mattered in this game, Scopely charged down their path and destroyed the very spirit of competitive gameplay in MSF. I want to do this one first. Scopely added level 95 sooner than they normally would have. Now, I'd have to go back through my spreadsheets to kind of see what the time gap was between 85 and 90 versus 90 and 95. I'll take their word for it here, but I don't know if that's 100% true or not. In fact, they introduced the level 95 cap 3 months sooner than they did level 90. To put into perspective, if they did level 100, we would be having that now, basically, is what they're saying.
They did decouple the gear upgrade from that, so it was a little different than it's been in the past, and that could have changed the timings a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have Gear Tier 18 right away, so they had the level cap increase first, and then the 18 with the incursion rate came out later, so that could be what they're talking about. That I don't know if yes, the power level from 95 is obviously much bigger than 90, but I don't know if it was that egregious. I think the G18 stats are pretty egregious. The huge uptick on that, it's way bigger than just 90 to 95. But I guess if you combine the two together, it's pretty huge. And then for the first time that I can recall, they simultaneously gave 3 straight. Okay, actually, I'm not gonna. I don't know if that's super relevant. Yeah, they gave double XP. Fine, you can spend money, you can get XP faster, whatever. I don't really care about that actually. So since then, Blue ISO 5 and G18 have also provided huge power jumps compared to previous ISO and gear tiers, and the largest bulk of these have been locked behind leaderboards and whalestone. So I will agree, and you can probably attest to that the G18 minis, a lot of times you're seeing them at the not even the top, sometimes in the top 1% now, but usually in like the actual ranked ones where it's like top 500 kind of things where you're seeing huge G18 drops. Yep. And Blue 5 Ions, of course. We know from the big Apocalypse chase that that was the case for basically a handful of months there. The strength of red stars on some of the most powerful characters have been locked behind leaderboards. That one, I don't know if this really bothers me. Does this bother you? I mean, the fact that I don't know if you saw in the data mines, it just came out today, but there's going to be an event. I think next week, the Mockingbird event is also going to have up to a 7 red black cat. So I don't know if that really bothers me that much. Did Nova have that? I don't remember honestly if there was one like that for Nova or not. They did for Apocalypse, that's for sure.
It doesn't really bother me. It's so rare. And the people going after it, I mean, you made a lot of arguments like they're funding the game, and a lot of times they're a lot of the best players in the game as well. But it really doesn't bother me. And I think in general, like a lot of strong arguments so far. The DPCs is one of them. I'd love to have more, but why those are maybe more gated and Krakens will have a lot more. We have a lot more red stars at the same time, and that delta between Kraken red stars and others red stars has really decreased. So some of these things bounce out a little bit.
I mean, like, again, the chances of me running into some of these people who are getting, me personally anyways, running into these people who have, I don't know, who got the 7 red Apocalypse on the leaderboard or is going to get a 7 red black cat on the leaderboard, I'm probably not going to run into them. So I feel like where this becomes an issue depends on the level of your gameplay and where you are. Or maybe, in my case, the luck of my arena shard, perhaps. But, I'm in, like, Diamond in Crucible, and I'm actually thinking of just, like, dropping down a bit, like, into Platinum. Because, like, I don't want to run into this, which I'm sure is not fun. You said that you ran into a Super Scroll, luckily not on defense. But I imagine if it was on defense, it probably wouldn't be a lot of fun either.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known what to do yet.
I haven't even looked, honestly, I haven't even looked at many videos. I think there are some videos out there of people who have run into Super Skrull, have some gameplay videos. I haven't checked out any of them because honestly, I felt like it was so far out there that I didn't even need to like pay attention to that. And by the time I did, maybe there would be a counter or some other way to deal with it. And I just haven't really checked it out yet, I admit.
In that time kind of alludes a little bit to what the post is saying with what you're saying. So
now even the awakened abilities of legendary characters are being paywalled. Black Cast looks like they'll make a huge difference in Arena. I admit I don't like the way that they're doing these awakened abilities for the trial characters, but it's just a way to get more money, honestly, from the Krakens, I think. I don't even have any. Do you have any of the Nova ones? I don't. I think I'm halfway to one of them, but
those started out with Nova, only being, hey, they will help in the war mirror match. They'll speed it up.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Sold as, almost like a cosmetic. I mean, a little better than that, but I think we all saw those would quickly transform into something a little more valuable there.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if you, like, because clearly it's not making a big deal for me. So really, it's just for those mirror matches, and I think it's the same for Black Cat, too. And it might be a bigger deal for Black Cat because of the arena context, perhaps. But again, they weren't even on her. I don't think they've been available yet. I don't think I've seen them anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't think they're even in the game at this point. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
I'm really wondering. I know we're on a tangent, but if those are going to impact their bleeds, like all the other tier upgrades, even though there's not a damage upgrade associated with it, because if those make her bleed stronger, those will be pretty powerful.
She already does a crap ton of damage as it sits. So yeah, I mean, I guess as we move towards this, which is what we're getting to, is this sort of like hybrid Secret Defenders meta. I think is both with Apocalypse and probably Super Skrull as well. I'm assuming that's what people are using in Arena. I don't know, like APOC, Skrull, Black Cat, and Robbie and Miss Marvel, I think. That's probably, and Dump and Photon, that's probably what's going on. They don't really specifically allude to that in here, but yeah, I mean, that's where the Arena kind of, I would assume, is heading. Because you need, like, what, 2 villains and 2 heroes for, at least 2 villains and heroes for Super Skrull.
Yep, haven't seen it, but I think you're right.
I very briefly read the kit. It's a huge kit, but I know at least that much. And so we're getting to that. So and that none of that's even discussing Super Skrull. Past Dark Dimension type characters were dominant, so at least they admit that. Because I wanted to talk about Ultron a little bit in a minute. They gave a huge advantage to their owners, but players with the right strategy could still beat them. I I almost want to disagree because what I remember of Ultron was it didn't matter if Ultron was geared, which at that point I think was gear tier 14, maybe. Something like yeah, I think it was 14. I think it was gear tier 14. And if Ultron was gear tier 14 and maxed out, you won. Or it was a coin flip if they had Ultron. I think that was pretty much it. And while it might have sucked, like I don't think there was really a strategy to beat him until Dark Phoenix came out, which was later, and definitely Black Bolt, which was like 3 months after that. And because it was Dark Phoenix, it was Phoenix and then Black Bolt, I'm pretty sure, in the release. And it was definitely Black Bolt that kind of like cemented the okay, bye Ultron.
That was the end of it. But Ultron dominated. You're so right. I
Like
mean,
for quite a while, I
when he
think.
first came out, like that was a prize.
Yeah,
That was the reason to beat Dark Dimension quickly because he was amazing.
yeah. But and to be fair, I don't know if Doctor Doom had the same kind of like imbalance as Ultron did when he came out. Like I think Ultron was in a league of his own at the time. What maybe we're seeing now with Super Skrull. And what I'm assuming, anyways, as someone who doesn't own him myself and hasn't really come against him, but there seems to be some complaint about that he's maybe too good. And he did go through a couple of I don't know if went through a rework. I don't know. I remember seeing blog posts of like bugs and stuff. Maybe they fixed the bug and that made him better or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyways, he's the most game dominating character ever. He is completely unbalanced. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because there's people dumping 5, 6 digits on the game just to get Super Skrull. And you're telling me that they can't have, I don't know, 4 to 6 months. Whatever it ends up having to be, right? Like, because at some point there will be a counter, I think. But I think that for how much effort, not just Super Skrull, but even the combination, if we're talking about the combo package of Big Apocalypse, and that's another issue too. Like Apocalypse was like a year-long thing, like so I don't want to see him get dumped to the wayside too quickly either. And so that combo of APOC and Super Skrull, I hope that it is viable for like at least 6 months, if not more. We had arena metas. Do you remember the Black Order arena meta? Pretty sure that lasted like a year.
It felt like it until
It might have been
Infinity Watch that took them out.
Yeah, it was, and I think that was like a full year. Honestly, I think it was a full year, because there was a handful of quite a few handful of legendaries that were in between them, which was like I think Doc Ock and Omega Red, and then Adam or no, I don't know, I don't remember. Anyways, doesn't matter. The case is the Black Order was like pretty much a year. Now I know that everyone hates the same arena meta, of course. Over and over again. But I think that I think there's some degree where their spending should mean something. As someone who doesn't,
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think one slight counter argument with Ultron um, is Crucible these days. You know, Crucible wasn't out when Ultron came out, and there's only
yeah,
6 rooms, so one character has a lot more ability to impact the overall match in a single game mode with 6 rooms than in an alliance-wide game mode with 10 moods. So
yeah.
for Arena, you're absolutely right, but I can see him being a little more dominant maybe in the other game mode because of Crucible.
So does that mean that he? I don't think they would do that, but they did do nerfs in the past in Crucible, right, where they like targeted specific teams and they gave them stat debuffs or whatever, 10%, 20% less stats on Gamma and Darkhold specifically. They were targeted.
Yeah.
They could do that with Super in Crucible. Super Skrull is like I don't know 10-20% weaker. I don't know if that would help because I don't know exactly. Yes, he's great everywhere, but it is. If you see a Super Skrull in Crucible, does that automatically mean you lose if he's on defense? I don't know because I don't know enough about fighting him, and so I can't comment on that. But if that is the case, then maybe there's some room to look at it, but I do believe that they should at least have a good benefit for having him early.
Yeah. I agree, and I'm actually okay with it. Just like you, not sure exactly how dominant he is there, but had a conversation recently with the Ambassador Al about his journey to get Super Scroll, and he worked it. I mean, he was talking about all the min max he was doing, not only like the things I look at, but also with offers, with power cores, And so there's just a lot of effort that goes into that, and typically for a lot of people, a lot of spending. And so I'm okay with them having a character that's uber powerful for a little while.
Yeah, and I think this gets to a broader point of spending versus not spending, but also people believing that this game has a degree of skill. Now, I want to kind of talk about this because this is not an esport. As much as people want to claim it's an esport, it's a mobile game where spending matters, okay? If you have a higher gear tier, if you're a maxed out character, your character's just going to be better. Now, there is some degree of, I wouldn't say skill as such, but like knowing how to counter a character or a team or whatever, and that exists. But at the end of the day, if a character is really strong, it might not matter, and I'm also okay with that too, because again, the amount of spending, and I think that's really important to understand. Also, this isn't an esport. I gotta say, it's not an esport. If you want to play an esport, go play another game. This is Marvel Strike Force. I get it that there's a lot of people at the top who who play really well and try really hard. I don't know. I feel like this. I don't know if this is an average person's issue, but I still wanted to cover this anyways because there seems to be this disconnect between people's expectations. I think about the game, and this might have to do with power creep, honestly, as well. Teams are
Yeah.
getting stronger and stronger than ever before. Secret Defenders just blow things out of the park, right? Like, it's funny. They're one legendary with some pretty easily unlockable free to play characters, and they're clean sweeping APOC 4 Horsemen, which is essentially a team of 5 legendaries.
That took a year and a half to get. Yep.
So in a lot of ways, it's like a reset for the arena for newer and mid game players or anyone who's able to unlock Black Cat, which I'm okay with. Now I don't expect them as a group of 4 or 5 to just walk over Super Scroll. I hope not, because that would make that stupid. But
Right.
I think that people need to line up their expectations a little bit better with in terms of the value of a character, but also the way that the game is inevitably going, because that's how characters get more powerful. And especially in the system like Marvel Strike Force, where characters are valid at 3 to 4 star. I talked about this in one of my previous videos over the weekend, actually, because I think that's a good thing for Marvel Strike Force, is that we could use characters at 3 to 4 star when their new characters unlocked versus other games which I played, especially Lord of the Rings right now, which are not valid until like 6 or 7 star, and that kind of pisses me off. So I like this system of how we have it for our characters, despite the frustrations others might have. So
I would completely agree.
uh,
I think one thing that's so interesting, like one way to kind of visualize this power creep and is there a huge delta with the Krakens is TCP. And I
yeah.
will say the TCP gaps seem bigger than ever. I feel like, the highest accounts used to maybe be 10 million higher than mine. And now that number is 40 million, 50 million. But a lot of that isn't really where the value is. And I'll say, even though there's all these inputs, the T18 we've been talking about, the Blue ISO 5, I don't have nearly that of what Krakens do. But still in this game right now, I think it's a good balance because I feel I'm able to overall keep up or at least outperform my TCP, even if I'm not number one, never going to be number one, but that's not my goal.
Well, that's the funny thing is I don't know how much TCP actually matters now, and except for maybe Alliance War, where there is a lot of teams that you're using, both on offense and defense. You have 10 defense teams and I don't know 10 plus offense teams, depending on how many attacks you do. But for Crucible, it's not really. You got like 6 teams, right? So maybe 6 offense, 6 defense at the best, I suppose, if you're full clearing. And so when I'm recruiting for my alliance, this might be a tangent at this point, but when I end up recruiting for my alliance, I actually don't look at TCP. I look at, okay, show me like what raid teams you have. Are they built? Great. Okay, good. Then you can function in incursion raid. Okay, welcome aboard. Like I don't need a 30 plus million TCP account or 20 plus or whatever it is. I just need, do you have the latest teams that are valid in the game? I don't care about like a year and a half, 2 years old teams.
Yep,
So at some point TCP, I don't, it doesn't become irrelevant, but it's less relevant than it was before. It's
agreed.
about keeping up with what's now in front of us. But
Yeah, as we get new characters and more characters, the number of usable characters really doesn't change that much. There'll be milestones there with the new game mode,
mhm.
but that's just then more and more characters that we aren't using. to where TCP is not as indicative. To your point.
So if any of new player or early mid game player were able to unlock Black Cat, and assuming you got the other characters, like you are probably dominating Arena right now. Most likely, those people don't have Apocalypse at all, and so these 5 will just wreck everything. 4, sorry, 4. I don't know. 4 plus Kang is probably what I'm assuming is what it looks like in the mid game for Arena. Because if they don't have Apocalypse, you're probably gonna put Kang in for the speed bar or whatever, and you still a good character anyways. But yeah, I think that we just need to have proper expectations. I think that's my thoughts are, and I don't want to like denigrate anyone who comment. There's a lot of comments, so if you want to go back and read this, there's a lot of comments on this. It's a good post. I'm just wondering if the expectations of players are a bit higher than what they we need to kind of bring that down a little bit, maybe, especially between spending and non-spending. Because it's a mobile game. These are how these game functions. My English. This is how these games function, and to a large extent, there will be, and I think should be, a degree of okay, you spent $20,000, great, that should give you something, right? Otherwise, why spend? And I don't, because I'm perfectly happy with where I am. Why am I making this video? I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to talk about something, but it was asked to me. And yeah, I wanted to get some other thoughts. So I mean, like, where are you at in your profile, anyways? Like what's your TCP and stuff? Roughly.
So I'm just over 40 million.
You're ahead of me.
The alliance I'm in is Platinum 3 and more. We are doing Incursion 1.3. I'm doing 60%. We're probably close to getting to 1.4, especially with the new tech raid team, obviously. But I think we're close to getting there anyways. So in Crucible, I kind of bounce back and forth from Diamond 3 to Masters.
Okay, wow. Wow, you're way ahead of me in Crucible.
I got up to Masters 2 once and quickly was humbled and sent right back down. So, but yeah, and I'll say one thing, just a quick thing, and kind of to pull together the story we're talking about. I was able to get 205th in the Black Cat trial, and was proud of that. And I know not every player's trying crazy and doing the sweat it takes to do that. So sure doesn't mean I'm 205th best account by any means. Nowhere close to that, but still, those are the things, if you really optimize, if you really strategize with this game, that can bridge some of that gap to the Krakens. Not all of it, but some of it, and that's where I get the enjoyment with this.
Well, I was gonna say, it must feel really good to be able to land a score like that, especially if you're not. I don't know what your spending profile is, but I'm assuming it's nowhere. If you are, I don't know. You can tell us, but it's probably nowhere near these people. Light spender.
A light dolphin, yep.
So, I mean, that's still a really good score. I didn't put in that much work, but I can definitely appreciate people who did. And actually, I totally forgot to show this photo. So, how many people have Super Skrull? 210. 210. So, this was shared to me by one of my alliance members, Sparty, who is 284 right now. And he's at 73%. I think he's waiting in the legendary section somewhere, and he's trying to finish off some more characters. But that tells me 210 people have Super Skrull. Okay, I feel bad for those 210 people you run across, and I guess that's the moral of the story, is that, yeah, it sucks. But, things will get better, and, they deserve their time in the sun, I think, at the end of the day. Yeah. And I think that we need to care less about what other people are doing and just worry about what you're doing. But also, if you want to get him earlier and you want to be dominant, then you know how you're going to do that. You have to open up that wallet, I think, these people did that.
Oh yeah, these people definitely did that, and it's unbelievable. It feels like it's been out a while, and 210 people. I was thinking, like, do I want to rush a character right now? And it's like starting to plan how long it'll be before I can then get to the next mode, get to Cosmic, and be able to start that. And it's months, and so it's like, why am I in a hurry to start Global? I'm just gonna be sitting.
So I have 8 characters now at G18 because I used 3 Cosmic characters. I'm just about to start Global pretty soon. But I am still shocked. I actually thought it would be a bit higher number than this. I thought that there would be maybe actually closer to like 500 is what I was thinking until I saw this. And, I was thankful to get the screenshot because I didn't know actually how many people had them. And so, yeah, it's going to, I guess, like every month there's going to be more and more people But this is no. In a way, it's no. Maybe he's more powerful than Dormammu was when he first came out. That's highly possible. But at the same time, I don't think that we should denigrate people's spending for that they deserve Super Scroll and they deserve to do well. They paid for it
Yep.
at the end of the day, and they're funding this game. Realistically, they're funding this game. And that's how it is. The top
And
1%
they're
of
still working
spenders
for it too.
top 1% of spenders, covers like 90% of a mobile game spending. Something like that. It's crazy, honestly.
Yeah. And when the wallet's held out, it doesn't just magically put Super Scroll in the account. Like I know that might sound silly, but like they're still playing these nodes hundreds of times trying
Yeah.
to, get that one shot on it and get through it as quickly as they can and doing the same content. So,
And a lot of these players, these top players, they usually know what they're doing when it comes to the game as well. There's not just they're throwing money at it. Some of them do, but I would say that a lot of them do actually play the game well as well. I
oh yeah,
didn't want to say
agree.
the same word twice in a row, but I'm running out of words now. That's when it tells me that we're probably nearing the end here. I think I've basically covered most things that I want to cover. Is there any last statements that you think about the situation with Skrull and the near future?
Yeah, I think we covered it well, and I think the balance is good right now. Anytime a new economy system comes out, that delta between the Krakens is always going to be bigger because it's always scarce at first for the general population. But right now, I think we're really at a pretty good balance overall, and this game's in a great place. So no complaints here.
Well, and that's the funny thing is I put out another a positive video, just I think the video before this one, honestly, and I don't know. People thought that I'm a Skrull. I got people kidnap me because I usually not that positive, but I think that the game is actually no. I am positive, but I mean maybe I was over positive. But anyways, I think that the game is actually in a good place, and honestly, I almost want to say it's the best place that it's been in quite some time, at least in a couple of
Yeah,
years.
I would agree.
So
I'm having a blast.
I'm actually happy with that, and I have so far not a lot of complaints right now. But obviously Scopely. So hey, anything's possible. I'm not going to say that maybe next month's going to be
There's
shit.
still
We'll
time.
see. There's still time for them to screw up. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up here. So I want to thank you, Gangster, for showing up on the channel and the video again. There'll be some links in the description below for everyone else to go check his channel out. Hit that subscribe button, help him out. I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate that. And
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks for joining me for today.
Yep. Appreciate you having me, man, and have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
And until next time, everybody, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out. And Gangsta. Sorry.